Welcome back to Offroad Outlaws, guys, and today we are going to be talking about drag trucks and street trucks. Now, with the recent update and all of the customization that came with it, it really allowed us some amazing new opportunities to build some street-oriented and drag racing-oriented vehicles, especially diesel trucks. Now, personally, one of the first ones that I decided to go for was a first-gen Dodge, and as you guys may have seen on some of my recent live streams, this truck has had a lot of screen time. Now, the reason why this truck has had a lot of screen time is, well, for a couple of reasons. One, just look at it. I am in love with the way the setup on this truck came out, but even more so than that, I've really been trying to refine the way I build street trucks and drag trucks, and today I would like to share some of that with you guys. Now, I'm going to go ahead and warn you all ahead of time, this is not going to be the fastest drag truck out there. It's not going to be the fastest tune in the book. This is more built for a RP/realistic street truck approach, and the gearing is something that I am still in the process of working on, so I will go ahead and warn you ahead of time that if you do copy this gearing, it may not be perfect because once again, it is a work in progress, but I think we have the looks of the truck really dialed in, and as you guys will see as we go a little bit further on in the video, there's been a lot more that's gone into this truck than you might think on the surface. So let's go ahead and hop in, we'll take it for a quick test drive, and then we're going to make a run right back to the shop, but first, let's see what that limiter sounds like. It sounds pretty incredible, honestly, especially right there on the limiter. Now, let's pull out onto the main road and do a launch for y'all. This thing really does get out of the hole, though. It absolutely rockets down the road. And send it. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but I'll tell you one thing, it certainly ain't slow. So now, let's head back to the shop. Now, once we get this thing back in the shop, we're going to go through the tuning elements of it first, and then after we go through the tuning elements, we're going to spend a lot of time on the visual elements, because getting this street truck / drag truck look, it actually, I spent a lot of time trying to dial in a lot of different things. The tire size, the ride height, the length of the spring shackles. Literally, I went that deep in the details to make sure this thing was the way I wanted it. Now, let's go straight into the tuning, and we're going to start with the suspension type. Now, we're using solid axle heavy duty, both front and rear, and then on the suspension, the axis width is going to be 0.03, the damping is going to be 3,000 to 78, give or take 3,000 to 3,100. Leaf spring is going to be 0.02 for the mount height. And then shocks, 0, shock size 1.0. You can't really see them anyway, so that's why I didn't mess with them. Spring brackets, upper mount, I kept them lower mounted because I think it looks a little bit more realistic, looks a little bit better. And then stiffness-wise, we got it at 20,000 in the front, and travel is 0.19. Now, in the rear, we're talking about an axis width of 0.06 because I wanted it to be a little bit meatier in the back. And then damping-wise, we're at 3,100, 3,106 technically. And then leaf spring-wise, once again, we're talking about a mount height or a shackle height of 0.02. Moving into the rear steer, obviously being none. And then shocks, 0, shock size 1.0. Spring brackets, we've got them low mounted as well here. And then stiffness is also 20K in the back with a travel of 0.19. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, but the suspension front and rear is upgraded to stage 5, and all of the baseline upgrades like the power, the durability, all of that stuff is upgraded to the max. It's also worth noting that this truck does run a manual transmission because I find it to be able to deliver the power a little bit quicker when you're in these drag racing scenarios. So let's go into the wheels and tires now, because this is where a lot of different aspects of the truck come together. Now, the wheel size or the rim size is going to be 1.5 in both the front and the rear, but the radius is the main thing here because as we know with the way the Offroad Outlaws physics system works, the smaller your actual wheel radius is, the faster your truck will be able to go. And that's why we have those, silly, ridiculous ATVs with, tiny tiny little wheels that can just rocket down a road. That's why. It's something to do with the way the physics system works. Now, looking into the wheel radius on this truck, we're running 0.8. Now, a lot of people never go below 1.0. A lot of people just leave it at 1.0 and then they just go with that. Here's the thing. If you actually bring it down to like 0.9, 0.8, some people even go to 0.7, I feel like you can get a really realistic look out of it, a really proportionally correct looking appearance, while also dramatically increasing the speed that your truck will be able to accelerate and will be able to travel in general over having a 1.0 radius. So keep that in mind. Now, wheel width-wise, we're talking about 1.0 in the front, and in the back, we're also on a 1.8 radius, but with a 1.2 width. The width doesn't really affect your truck's pace. You can make these as wide as you want, and it still won't affect how fast you can go. It's all in the radius. Now, gear tuning, this is where I'm going to go ahead and preface this by saying that this is a development setup. This is not done yet, so use at your own risk. But first gear is 3.2, second gear is 1.9, third gear is 1.2, fourth is 0.9, and fifth is 0.6. Now, a lot of you guys are probably going to say, oh my god, those are way too close together, and normally I would agree with you, but this tune was specifically made for that stretch of road that is right in front of that gas station on Twin Rivers Lake, where Charlie and Diesel and I usually go to drag race. So I've set it up for that strip, and again, I'm still trying to dial it in, but it's getting a lot closer than it used to be. Now, the low gear is untouched, and dyno run-wise, it's on a perfect setup. I went ahead and put the perfect tune on it, and it's making about the same baseline as what the other diesels make. Let's go ahead and run it anyway so you guys can see what it does. Oh, the game decided it did not want to. There we go. Not too bad. Once again, max horsepower 705, and torque is going to be 1186. Again, same as the rest of the baseline diesel setups, although it is different between some trucks in the way they feel and accelerate. So I'm not sure if that's a weight thing or solely a gear tuning thing, but it'd be really interesting to dive into that and figure it out in the future. Now, if you want to replicate any aspects of this truck looks-wise, this is where you're going to do it. Now, fortunately, it's a very visually simple truck in terms of vinyls and stuff like that. Vinyl-wise, I mean, it's literally only got a couple of different things on it. It's got TC Customs on this rocker panel, TC Customs on this rocker panel. It's got a Cummins logo right here that I forgot to duplicate, which I'm going to go ahead and do right now so that the Cummins logo is also on the other side. And then we've also got this Big Boost logo on the back. Really not even logo, but just text. The only reason I put that there was because during one of our live streams when we first built this truck, I really wanted this truck to have some kind of a name, and that's what we came up with as sort of a working title, right? A working title, a working name. But we're going to go back into the body customization real quick because as you can see, most aspects of this truck are pretty untouched. We got a stock front bumper, stock fenders. The rear bumper has been deleted, but I feel like the front bumper, it looks a little bit awkward when you delete the front bumper. Like, it looks okay, but it also looks a little bit awkward. I'm very back and forth about it. Now, the bed, we're running the stock bed. We're not running any kind of special cage or side steps or lighting on this thing. The only other thing we have is a spare set of drag wheels and tires that are chilling in the bed, and then we also have the white HIDs, and we have a toolbox that acts as a repair pack. Now, speaking of wheels and tires, we're obviously running the new drag compound, which is going to be by far your best bet for a drag truck. And then we are actually running the fifth wheel from the right. So this wheel is probably one of my favorite all-purpose wheels. I love it on off-road rigs. I love it on show rigs. I love it on drag trucks. It just freaking works. Now, the spokes are black chrome, and the black chrome really, really brings these wheels out and I think makes them pop really nicely. Even though you would think that like a black chrome would sort of just pull all of the light in, but this actually somehow it makes these wheels pop. And I think the chrome bead also helps with that a lot. And here on the back, you can see because they're a little bit wider, these wheels have a little bit more dish to them as well. Now they don't have the bead lock, but they don't really need them because the bead lock that comes with this wheel, I think looks amazing anyway. So let's go ahead and apply all of that. And that really is going to be an overview not only of this truck, but how you can get started building your own lowered trucks, slammed trucks, and drag trucks in Off-Road Outlaws. Now, a couple of things that I do want you guys to be aware of when building these trucks or building trucks like this is, in some cases, if you lower them too much and you're driving down a road, like a paved road, the truck can start to hop and jump all over the place. Now, what you can do to fix that is you can do a couple of things. You can add a little bit more travel, or you can also add a little bit more damping. And once you mess around with the aspects of both, you'll figure out really quickly that when you don't have enough room in the suspension for it to absorb a bump, it will literally just kick your truck off the ground. And that's never a delightful occasion for basically anybody. But let me know in the comment section down below if this in-depth build video and this in-depth build walkthrough helped you out in terms of any builds that you're doing in Offroad Outlaws. And if there's anything that you would like to see me do, see me build, or see me explain in Offroad Outlaws, make sure to leave any thoughts, opinions, and suggestions in the comments down below. I will see you all next time. Talk to you all later.